Hey guys! Today's video is about the language situation in Switzerland because a lot of you had questions about, well, what the language situation in Switzerland was. So I thought I'd answer those questions, and later this week, and I promise it's going to be later this week, I'll make a video either about articles in Swiss German or hobbies in Swiss German. Maybe if you prefer one or the other, just leave me a comment. So let's get started. What is the language situation in Switzerland? Now I'll make a map appear magically. If you look at this map, that's Switzerland by the way. The yellow part, DE, that's the German part. Then the light green part with FR, that's French. So that's where we speak French in Switzerland. The green part at the bottom, that's Italian. And the purple part is Romansh. So those are the four official languages of Switzerland. Map disappears. To make matters more complicated, the German part, the yellow big part, is diglossic, meaning that the Swiss German community, language community, speaks two different languages or dialects, basically Swiss German and High German. One is used in more formal situations, for example, for journalism, media, political issues, political speeches, whereas the other one is used in an everyday setting, maybe at school even, in more informal media. Even though in recent years the use of Swiss German has been increasing, so more and more media has picked up on Swiss German, and even some magazines or newspapers are using Swiss German. So that's kind of the overview very shortly of what the language situation in our country is. Somebody asked me how to say Käsrüechli, which means cheese pie in English. Well, Käsrüechli. Ich habe ein kleines Käsrüechli in meinem Küchenkästchen. I have a small cheese pie in my kitchen cupboard. You could try and learn that by heart, but I don't expect you to. And it's kind of useless as well. Doesn't really mean anything important. Somebody else asked me, what is the closest German dialect what's the closest one to Swiss German? That's a really hard question to answer because, and I'll make another map up here. As you can see, to the right we have Germany, the northeast there's Germany, and to the east there's Austria and Liechtenstein. If you remember from the map before, German is spoken somewhat like in the middle of Switzerland. It's like a language continuum where, for example, Bern is kind of similar to Solothurn, and then Solothurn is kind of similar to, well, it just map kind of goes like this. You know, I don't know if it's the same with British English, but if you have one dialect and then you go to the next town, and it's always similar, but then if you're like 5 towns apart, those towns don't sound anything similar anymore. Any more similar, you know what I want to say? So I reckon that since Appenzell is somewhat closer to Austria than, let's say, Solothurn, not just somewhat, it is closer, Appenzell would sound more like Austrian German, whereas, I don't know, Basel German would sound more like the German from, well, southwest Germany, if that makes sense. Whew, good, I managed to answer that somehow. Do you understand every single Swiss German dialect? No, I understand most of them. If you take British English and American English and Australian English, for example, there will be words, if you're British and you go to America or you go to Australia, there will be words that you won't understand because they are typical for Australian English and not for British English. And sometimes if somebody speaks with a very heavy accent, you might have difficulties understanding them as well. And it's the same from Switzerland, actually. The perfect example is Valais German, which is, well, we call it Wallis. Map appears. You see the yellow one on the bottom, Valais? Well, it is quite far away from Zurich if you look at the map, and so when people from Valais speak to me, I have a really hard time understanding them. Oh yeah, and I have a really cool picture to kind of depict that up here. This probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but basically all those words you can see, those are one single word, namely core. For example, the core of an apple or the core of a pear, the part that you wouldn't eat or that you'd throw away. That's what we in Zurich, the big purple one, call Bütschki. That's what I would call Bütschki. But for example, other cantons or other dialects would say Gütschi or Bitski or Ürbsi or Gürbsi or Spule, Gröitschi, Batski, Batsi, Grützi, Gacki, Gröpschi, Güegi. So you see, so many different words for one single thing. Obviously, if I hadn't seen this picture and if I had gone to one of those other cantons and they'd have said Gröpschi, I would have had no idea what they meant, because Gröpschi, I don't know. I call it Bütschki. What's more, there are some high alpine valleys which have a very archaic dialect still, and I cannot understand them at all. So, but obviously you don't have to understand every single word to be able to communicate with people. So that answers that. The next one, how many dialects are there in Switzerland? I'll show you the map again. Just the ones in the middle, those are main dialects. But then again, for example, I'm from Winterthur, that's a big city in Zurich. And even though it's Zürichdeutsch, what I speak, we do have our own Winterthur dialect, for example. So yes, we don't really know how many dialects there are, because as I said, even some suburbs have their own dialects. What is the standard Swiss German dialect and which one should I learn? There is no standard Swiss German dialect. I say it depends which canton you want to move to, if you want to move to Switzerland at all. If you just want to learn Swiss German, learn Zürichdeutsch. No, I love my dialect, but I think other dialects sound really cool as well. I love the sound of Bernese, but since there's not really a lot of tutorials going around or books about Swiss German, your easiest option would probably be to learn Zürichdeutsch, but you know, maybe you can find somebody who can teach you another dialect and go for it. And the very last question is, why are you filming in your bathroom? For some reason, this is very, very confusing for some of you people. It is not because I think that the background looks nicer, it is just because the lighting is better than in any other room in my whole flat. I hope that clears it up, and I'll see you in my next video. Hope you're all doing great. Also, a very happy 2012 to everybody. I completely forgot to wish you a happy 2012 in the beginning. Hope the new year started well for all of you, and have a nice week. Bye!